Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am coming, another steps down before me. Jesus said to him, Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk. Immediately the man became well and picked up his pallet and began to walk. The writer says, now it was the Sabbath on that day. Verse 14 says, after Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, Behold, you have become well. Do not sin anymore, so that nothing worse happens to you. From verse 6 is where I want to take my subject, theme, title for the lesson. Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be healthy? Now, if your first thought was regarding your body, you're thinking wrong already. If your first thought was my body, you're already thinking wrong. If you're tired of the cancer or the ligaments hurting, okay, understood. But this morning we're not talking about your body. This morning we're going to talk about your soul. And the question then is do you want to be healthy? There's a word I want to stress. It is want. You can also use a synonymous word, desire. Do you desire to be healthy? Or are we content being sick? Do you want to be healthy? Is it the desire of your heart to be healthy? More than a desire, do you have a will to accomplish it? As we discussed last week, you can have a desire, but if the will does not follow the desire or the will doesn't push the desire will never be accomplished without a will to pursue it. Remember, we talked last week and we discussed the lukewarm church there in the book of the Revelation, chapter number 3, the Laodicean congregation. And we briefly described that lukewarm condition. Ultimately, what it boiled down to was this. If you remember the lesson, I've heard the lesson, took notes. It ultimately boiled down to this. The indictment was this. Jesus communicated to that congregation that you have allowed yourself to be influenced by the world. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Now, we talked about the details. We'll not go back and re-preach that. But ultimately, we come to this summary. The Laodicean congregation, possibly genuinely good folk. They probably were churchgoers and they probably attended Bible study. Nothing in that letter indicates that they had any moral deficiencies. Jesus pointed out the issue and that they were lukewarm and that they had allowed themselves to be influenced by the community in which they resided. That was the issue. They had become rich and wealthy. And as a result of their economic advancement, what they were doing was they had become spiritually ruined. And Jesus communicated that there was something that you have to let go. And I do want to bring this point out because I did indicate that Laodicea in that day was a medical city. They had advanced in medicine. They had developed a medicine. Now, here's what I want you to consider. You got church folk in Laodicea. You probably got church folk in Laodicea who are doctors. You probably got church folk in Laodicea who's some form of scientists that have actually involved themselves in advancing the medicine in the city. But Jesus is telling those who are possibly Christians in Laodicea who are possibly doctors and possibly some sort of scientists who has aided in the advancement of the community, he communicates to them, that's exactly what is killing your spirituality. That's exactly what's ruining you. Now, you got to imagine a man that is told by Jesus that your riches and your wealth, your advances are actually the things that's killing you spiritually. Now, you have to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to continue to do what you've done to make you wealthy, or if you're going to listen to Jesus. It ultimately boils down to this: do you want to be made well or not? Do you want to be healthy? Or are we going to be like this gentleman? We're going to look at him in just a few moments. Or are we going to be the type of individuals that try to justify a condition, that tries to make it okay to be in the condition, when I know well and good that the Word of God says, let it go? When the Word of God says this is what is killing you, Jesus has already said what's killing you. Where is the argument if Jesus has already communicated what it is that's making me sick? What's the problem? But we walk away as human beings with all kind of excuses why I can't not do what Jesus actually says I am to do, and that can be done. Jesus never asked us to do anything that we cannot do. We may choose not to do it. But make no mistake about it, Jesus never asked a man to do something he was not first willing to do himself, and give the same man that he's telling to do it the power to do it. Never puts a man in a position where he cannot do what he demands. Anybody walk away from here saying, I can't do what Jesus says for me to do, questions the Word of God. Anybody. Every individual. Well, I don't know about that. That's your problem. It ain't Jesus' problem. That's your problem. But the question on the floor this morning is, do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be healthy? And so, how would you think those in Laodicea would feel or felt when Jesus told them what their problem was? Your problem is your riches. Was that the first time Jesus actually communicated to a man that your riches are your problem? Remember the rich young ruler? What did he tell him? Go sell all you have? Was that unreasonable for Jesus to ask that when he know that what your riches are actually the thing that's ruining your soul? Is that a hard question? Is that difficult? Let's be honest. Yes, it is. It's hard. It's difficult. It demands of me to bear my cross. It demands of me to have to face my own Calvary. Remember Jesus when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane there in Luke chapter 22. We get into John 5 in just a few moments. Remember Jesus when he found himself in the position that tomorrow he was going to be on the cross? Did it feel good? Was it not the same Jesus that says, Father, is there not another way? Not his exact words, but that's definitely the implication there. Is there not another way? Can you not take this cup from me? It's difficult. Christianity is not a walk of peaches and cream. Somebody lied to us. I'm done lying. We've been lied to. It's not easy. It is difficult to change a man from the condition of spiritual death to the condition of spiritual health. That's why we need the power from above to fix us. But we have to have it made up in my mind that I want to be healthy. If I don't want to be healthy, I never get healthy. I'm going to always have excuses. I'm going to be just like this man in John 5. I have no man to help me, while at the same time, Jesus is there in his presence, ready to help the man. We're going to get there in just a few moments. We got access to Jesus. We got access to the Spirit and the gospel and Yahweh. We got the whole heavenly host on our side, and all we got is excuses. So, The question is, do you want to be healthy? Do you want to be healthy? And do you have the will to do the same? In John 5, we go back there. Let's kind of walk through the text just a little bit. It's interesting that Jesus actually chose this particular man. I don't necessarily have the reason why he chose the man, but I always know that Jesus, when he does the thing, he's very methodical. But I will point out that this individual, it is said of him that he had been in this condition for 38 years. Long time. It is clear he hadn't been in the condition all his life. When you begin to analyze the situation, when Jesus approaches him, he doesn't even ask him how he got in this state. He's going to do that later. Doesn't even ask him how did you get into that condition. Let's walk through. He says in verse number 3, in these porticos lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered. And the text lets us know, like I said, you may not have this. If you're reading a more modern translation, something like the ESV, NLT, something like that, you may not find this in your text. Now, that's what we would call a textual variant. Won't go into all of that as it relates to the transmission and the translation of the text. Why certain things are there and why other things are not. That's a textual criticism class that we're not about to do. Nevertheless, the text does let me know something about this particular pool in verse number 7. The sick man answered him,